So hello everyone, welcome to this another video of this channel. I'm Abhishek Verma and you are watching Spring Basics with Spring Boot series. In today's video, we are going to learn how to write test cases for our Spring Boot application. Although the application is very simple as of now, but still as a good developer, we should be knowing how to write the test cases. Now for this, one of the prerequisite is the knowledge of JUnit as well as Mockito. So in this playlist, in this particular video, I'm not going to cover that particular part in detail, and I'm assuming that you already know about JUnit and Mockito. My main goal will be to just explain you what are the new things under the Spring Boot. But that doesn't mean I'm going to jump on the last thing. What I will be doing is I will be writing it step by step and explaining you about each and every line in a brief. But later on, if you want to have the complete knowledge, then one option is you can watch the video from some other YouTuber, or you can read some blog also. Another option can be that you can tell me in the comments whether you want a video about JUnit and Mockito also from scratch, so that I can make the same for you. So without wasting any more time, let's directly get started. So now we are in the STS IDE, and as you can see, I have already copy pasted and created demo number 15 from the previous demo. So in the pom.xml also, I hope that I have updated, and the answer is yes, I have already updated it. Yeah. So before we start making any of the changes, let me just execute it once so that we can verify that everything is working as of now. So let's see, and let's go here and see how is it working as of now. So currently you see that the profile part I have removed from this, and hence it is the default profile only. It's printing for the service sample that it has been created, repository has been created, and then it is asking me for some owner ID. So let me give us 11, and hence you can see it is throwing me the exception here. Now if I just refresh it, so let me just refresh, you can see it is creating logs, and within the logs here it is showing you this demo.log also. So this is how the things are working as of now, guys. Yeah. And currently we don't need these logs. So let me just simply delete it to make the things simple. So that means as of now our application is working fine. And currently in this application, if you see, basically we are having only the repository layer, which is something like this. As of now, you can see the things are being hard coded here. And the other one is the service layer. So the service layer is going to look you something like this. There is no web application layer as such. Yeah. So our goal will be to test both these layers today. So in the repository layer, we are going to test the find owner method, and then there will be two scenarios. What if the owner is found, and what if the owner is not found? So these are the two scenarios available here. Then in the owner service IMPL, so here also we are just calling the repository method. There is no logic as such, but still here for this method we will test again both the scenarios. What happens when the owner is found, and what happens when the owner is not found. So two cases for this. And for this modify owner ID, you see that we are not doing anything much, but we will still verify whether we are able to update the owner ID with this method or not. So in short, for the repository, we are going to write two test cases. For the service IMPL, we are going to write three test cases, two for find owner and one for modify find owner ID, something like this. Now, before we start with the writing the test cases, the important thing is we need to have the testing dependency here. Now currently you know that whenever we are creating a new Spring Boot project, we will get the testing dependency by default from the Spring Initializer. But what I always do is when I don't feel that any dependency is required for me, I just simply remove it. So till now it was not required in my demos, hence I always removed it by default. And that's why you see even the default test methods, the test class, those also I deleted it. Yes, but in your case, let's say you are working on the actual project, so you will be requiring it, and hence you will be getting it by default. Now in my case, since I'm not getting, so what I will do is I'll just go here in the Spring Initializer and I will just simply say explore. So I'm already in the right version, so I'll just say explore, and here I will be probably getting this particular one. So I'll copy from here. In your case, you don't need to do anything like this copy pasting in case you are already having this particular thing. So this is how it is going to look like, guys. And here, as you can see, we are now getting this particular dependency also, that is the test dependency, and its scope is test. Now moving with the next part. So now the next thing is that we just need to write the test cases. So for this, what we will do is we will go here in src test java. Again, this is available there by default, and we will just create our class. So here, first of all, we need to check what we are going to test. So as I mentioned you, we will be making test for the repository IMPL and the service IMPL. So let me just write their names. So here I will say owner repository IMPL, and the best way to write a test case always is to write here test. So whatever is your main class which you want to test, and then append it with the test. Now all the best practices and everything can be actually covered when you are going for the complete JUnit or Mockito playlist. So in case you feel that we should create that particular playlist also, then first of all you need to like this video, share with your friends, and you need to comment me that you need that particular thing. Otherwise I'm not going to create it just because I wish. Yeah. So now here one thing I forgot here was to mention the package name. So no worries, what I'll do is I'll just go here and copy this particular package name. So that package I'll copy here and I'll just paste it out here, and after IMPL I will just say test. Otherwise the best practice is that whenever you are creating your class, at that time itself you should create the package also, and that's always a best practice, guys. So now this is the one. Now here, as you can see, we are having the test class and the package is also available. Now the next thing is that I need to test the particular method. So here, as I mentioned you, that we will be testing this particular find owner method, which is accepting some owner ID. So when you want to test this particular method, what we will do here is, here I will be just saying as public, and here we will say void, because your test methods are not going to return anything for you. So this is how we will be just using that first name as it is. So as of now, let's simply make it as an empty method and just say Ctrl Shift O, Ctrl Shift F, so that it looks nice. Now the rule is, whenever you want to test any method, first of all you should be using the name as test, something like this. Now it will look like this, test find owner. Now here you see that one scenario I want to go with the success scenario, other one is the failure scenario. So whenever you are writing a test method name, it should be very descriptive that what it is basically going to do. So here currently you just see that I'm writing here test find owner. So this simply means that I'm going to test the find owner method. But for what particular scenario? So here my scenario is when, so I guess it got something deleted. So let me write here again. So here I will say when the owner is found. So this is my first scenario. So I want to test it when the owner is found. So this is my number one scenario. Then let me go with another scenario also, and that can be something like this, when owner is not found. So these are my two test case scenario. Yeah? I mean, there is no hard and fast rule that how you should name your method. Some people just simply write it like this, test find owner, then they say success failure. Yeah? But your name should be very much clear what you are basically going to do here. Yes. Now here it is showing you something like this, that adds some test to this class. So obviously as of now we have added. Now the next thing is, since this is going to be a test, so whenever you want some method to be tested, upon this you need to say @test. So this is how the things are going to look like, @test. Now here you will say that, okay Abhishek, we didn't added this JUnit Jupyter. So how did this came as of now? Yeah. So for this, let me again take you to pom.xml once. So here if you remember, we just added this testing dependency. Now if you go to this dependency hierarchy, let's close it for Spring Boot Starter. Now let's check for this Spring Boot Starter test. You will see that under this Spring Boot Starter test, automatically we are getting all other required dependency for JUnit as well as Mockito. So here this JUnit Jupyter is nothing but JUnit 5. So earlier it was JUnit 4 that was popular, than JUnit 5. Since JUnit 5 onwards, they started calling it as JUnit Jupyter. It's just a subpart of it. Whenever you can watch some JUnit video, and there you will find more details. Then also we are getting this Mockito here. So this Mockito and all these things you are getting by default, which means you don't need to add any other dependency. automatically it will pick the latest versions here if you are using the latest version of Spring Boot. If you are using some older version of Spring Boot, it may be using JUnit 4 only as of now. Yeah. So that is how the things are going to work. So this @test also, let me add on both these methods again. So again, I'm telling you that I'm assuming that currently you know how to do a JUnit testing or how to make usage of Mockito. So in this video, we are going to make usage of both. And my main aim is to tell you the changes as per the Spring Boot. But I'm assuming you have the knowledge of JUnit and Mockito. In case you don't have, then either you can watch someone else's video or you can request me to make video on them too. Now from JUnit 5, what happened is they said that you don't need to make your class and methods as public. So even if you will write like this, then also it's good. Yeah. And basically, since your JUnit 5 onwards, your class and the test methods should be default only. They should not be public. Otherwise, when you will start using the SonarLint, it will tell you that, okay, here you can make something like this, something like that, and that can be done. Now here again, it is not working fine. It is saying that, okay, there should be some assertion. So let's see. So in this particular one, what we want to do here, basically, I want to invoke my find owner method, something like this. So let me just write here as find owner. So this is the method which I want to invoke, this particular one, find owner. And as you see, it is expecting me some owner ID. So let's say that currently I'm passing it with owner ID as 100. So this is the one. But the point is how to invoke this method. So how can I invoke this method? Now generally, whenever we are testing, what we can do is we will write here something like this, private, and here I can say it to be as owner repository impl. So this is the one, and this is going to be my variable name. I'll just rename it to as small o. So this is how I have renamed this particular thing, and I have made the variable also. And with the help of this, I will be calling the find owner method. So now this is looking like this. Now it says that it can throw the exception. So instead of try catch, we will just throw from this particular method. So this is how it is going to look like. Now whenever you will invoke, it will return you some message, and here let's call it as string actual message. So let me say string actual message, and this is how it looks like. So this is my actual message. Now since I want to do some kind of assertion, so now what I will do is here I will say assert, and then I will say here equals. So let me write it like this, assert equals, and currently you see I'm not getting anything because the reason is it's a static method. So let me try with this particular one, assertions. So assertions, and here this is the one. So you need to again get this assertions from your JUnit Jupyter. So you can say this one. Now we are getting this assertions here, but what you can do is, so we will just say here dot, and in this assert equals. So if you go, first of all, we will say what is expected. So here for expected, let's say currently we are expecting this. Obviously not, but as of now, let's say I will just change it in a while. And here, let me say actual message. So this is my actual message, and here I'm going to expect something. So what I will do is I will call it as expected message. So let me write it like this, expected message. This is how it is going to look like. Now you will say, where will you define this expected message? So the best practice is whenever you are starting your test method, there itself you can provide this particular one, and here this is going to be my expected message. Now again, obviously I'm not going to expect something like this empty only. So the actual answer should be somewhere from here. So in the messages, I can copy this particular one. So I'll copy this, and here I'll come back and I will paste in this particular one. Now when the ID is 100, it should be giving me this particular message. So this is how your test method is going to look like here, guys, which you can see here easily. Now another small thing which you can do here is that instead of again and again making usage of this assertions, here you can take a static input. So here we will say static, and here I will just put a star here like this. Now I don't need to mention here, and this looks smaller to me. So this is how you can simply update your code, and now you see it is looking simple. So first of all, I told what I am expecting, then I have invoked the actual message, and then I am saying assert equals. Similarly, let's do for this another one also. And this time we are going to expect the error message or basically the exception. So I'll just copy this something and I'll paste it here. Now in this second one, I'm basically don't need the success message. I need an error message. So I'll copy this particular part. So I have copied it and let me just simply paste here this time. Yeah. And this is obviously should be for some odd ID. So let me say something like this, and here let me say something like this. Yeah. So this is how it is going to look like. But this time, you know that since you are passing the odd ID, so obviously it is going to throw you the error. Now when obviously it is going to throw the error, then here I will be using something as assert. So I will be saying here assert and then I will say throws. So this is the one I will be using, assert throws, and something like this it is going to look like. Now within this assert throws, what happens is that first of all you need to write what kind of exception you are expecting. So here if you see, I'm going to expect this kind of exception, owner not found exception. So let me just copy here and paste in this particular one class. Then the next thing which you need to write is that on invoking which method you are expecting this. So basically on invoking this find owner method, I'm expecting this. So instead of calling it outside or even before, what I'll do is I'll copy this particular one from here. So, or let me just simply cut this particular one. I'll go here, I'll say something like this. Yeah. So this way you can simply write it, guys, that this is how it is going to look like, that you are expecting this kind of error from this, and here I guess this can be removed. So here what I have done is within assert throws, I'm mentioning that I'm expecting this kind of exception, owner not found, and on invoking what, this find owner method. So this time you see that since you are invoking the find owner method within assert throws, hence it is not asking you to throw it explicitly like earlier it was asking. Yeah? And again, this is the way of expecting the exception here. Now next thing is now how to check this actual message. Now we are not going to get any kind of message here. Instead what happens is this can return you the exception. So complete exception can be returned. So what I will do is instead of calling it as message, I will say it is going to be my actual exception, and from here I will be getting the message something like this. And here this particular variable I'll just simply create here something like this, and obviously I need to have a data type. So I will say here copy, and here I'll say paste something like this. Let me say Control Shift O, Control Shift F, and now this looks like this. So again simple. First of all I have told what is the expected message because I was expecting this kind of message. Then here I'm saying that I'm expecting two things here. First of all, this kind of exception should come. That is number one expectation. Secondly, after this I should be getting this kind of message also. So in case I'm getting this exception but I'm not getting the message, then also this test case will fail. In case I'm only getting message, I mean that is not a possible scenario. Okay, so this is how the code is going to look like as. Now believe me, as of now there is nothing from the Spring Boot side. This is something a normal thing. Yeah. Now let's start with the main Spring Boot part. What Spring Boot is going to add in this particular part here. Now the main thing is, if you see here I have just written it like this. So what if happens is that I go here and I'll just say run as, and now you need to run it as JUnit test. So if you will try to run it as JUnit test, it came here. Let me bring this particular pane here. So now you see that it is just giving me some errors, that okay, this is not working fine. One error, one failure. The reason why it is not working fine is because you said that I will be invoking find owner method from the owner repository IMPL. But this owner repository IMPL is null. So as of now, this owner repository IMPL is null. So the point is how to, instantiate this particular thing. Now one option is just to simply say here equals to new of owner repository IMPL. If it had not been a Spring Boot application, I would have done it like that way only by saying it new repository IMPL. But this is a Spring application, Spring Boot application. So what I'll do here is I will write here as auto-wired. So I will be writing here as auto-wired, and you heard it right. So when within this particular test class, you are testing this class only, so you need to auto-wire this. So whatever the class you are testing, that only you need to auto-wire it. Let's say Control Shift O, so that you can get bean of this particular thing. Yeah. Now this is how we are getting this. So let me just run it again with this particular one. And now let's see what we are getting. So again, if you see, again, we are getting the same thing, that this is still null. Now, why is it still null? Because currently this is a normal class. Earlier you remember that why is this auto-wire should work? Because this auto-wire can work only if it is a part of your Spring Boot. Now, in order to make it as a part of your Spring Boot, like in your normal application, you make usage of this particular annotation, Spring Boot application. Same way, in the test class, what we need to do is, I'll just copy this so that it becomes easier for you to understand. So I'll paste it here and I will call it as test. So on your class, you need to write here Spring Boot test. So with respect to the Spring Boot, only these two things are important. Instead of just simply writing it with the new keyword, I'm saying here auto-wired, and here on the class level, I'm saying Spring Boot test. Let me say Control Shift O, and this is how it is going to come. So this is coming from your Spring framework. Now let me just test it again and let's see how this is going to work. So I'm testing it, and currently you see on testing this particular thing, what happened? So on testing this particular thing, it basically started each and everything here, guys. Yeah. So you see, it started your whole application, something like this, and then it said that application run failed. Something, this particular thing happened. And what was the issue? So basically, I guess it was trying to start your whole application. So the moment you say Spring Boot test, what happens is it is going to load your complete context. So since under your Spring application, this particular annotation, so many classes were coming, demo, exception, repository and service, all classes were coming. Hence under this repository IMPL also, all the classes were trying to instantiate. So here you see it is failed to load application context for this particular thing, and it was basically trying to load all the classes. But the point is, here we should not load all the classes. Here my goal is only to test repository IMPL. Since you need to test only repository IMPL only, why you want to load all the classes? So here what we will do is we will give something like this, and here I will say classes. If you wish, why only classes? So you can go inside this and you can check. So here you can give an array of classes. So since you just want to test this class, so here you will say dot class. So this is how it is going to work. Why? Because by default, Spring Boot test will load all your classes because of this particular one Spring Boot application. So whatever all is coming under Spring Boot application, all those classes will be loaded by your Spring Boot test also. But why to load all the classes when I just want to test this one? So I will just write it like this. Let me just save it again and let's run this particular one again, guys. So now I'm again running this. Now you see that now this time it is not loading all the classes. Yes. What is the proof? Proof is that here it is only saying owner repository IMPL being created. It's not even trying to instantiate owner service IMPL, not even the demo class. So all those classes are not getting started here, guys. Yeah. So that is one of the proof. And here you see it's just saying it has started owner repository IMPL class, not the complete thing. Yeah. Now, what is the error? Now, next time the error is that here it says that we were expecting it to return something like can't find owner with owner ID 101. But what it gave me was owner not found with these dollar symbol, which means that here it is going to this particular one, and here this is just giving me this particular thing. I mean, it is not able to read from the properties file. Same for this particular one also. It is just showing me this particular as the message. It's not able to read from the properties file. Now you will say that why is it not reading from the properties file? Just think. Remember, how did you told your Spring Boot application to read from the properties file? We remember that application.properties file is loaded by default, and this any other properties file can be loaded by this particular property. So what we will do is we'll copy this and we will paste it here also. So why again and again I'm trying to copy paste and do the things so that I can make it easier for you to understand that here you don't need to do anything much. Things are simple and similar like your main demo class or how in a normal Spring Boot thing you are going to do. So here we are saying @property source, but the thing is, instead of writing here as property source, since it is a test class, so here the name comes as test property source. So this is the one, guys, which we call as test property source, not a simple property source. Now let's do it again. And see, here I'm basically trying to do step by step and run it step by step so that I can explain you that how the things are going to work here actually. Otherwise, it would have been easier for me to just simply jump on to the last point and again do the things, and believe me, that would have worked fine, but that is not a good scenario. So now you see that again it is throwing me this. It says failed to load application context, this particular thing, and the reason for this particular, what you can do is you can click on this and then it will show you the complete stack trace in the console itself. So here it is much more easier to understand. So what it says that okay, here currently only this class was loaded, owner repository IMPL, and currently there is no location like this messages.properties. So it is not able to identify this location here. You will say, but it is available here, messages.properties. So why is it not able to identify? The reason is when it is your application and when you write this property source, then it looks under SRC main resources. But when it is your test property source, then it will look under SRC test resources. And currently we don't have that SRC test resources. So let's create it. So we'll go here to test. Now under test, what I'll do is, first of all, I'll create a folder by the name of resources. So like this, in case it is already available, then it's a good practice. Otherwise, just write it like this. And now currently you will see it is not appearing in this particular way. Let me just try to do a Maven update here, guys. Sometimes with Maven update it will appear, sometimes just with a refresh it will appear. Let's see what else we need to do here. So now you see it is showing me SRC test resources. Now what I will do is, currently I'll just copy paste the existing messages.properties file under this, because currently my application is simple. Here I don't have anything much to do, but in a bigger application, maybe the main application you want to run with some different properties and your test you want to run with some different values. Hence, it's always better to have both these separate files. So now same messages properties I'm writing here, and I hope now it should run. Otherwise, it will be a big trouble for us, guys. Yeah. So let me just click it again and say JUnit test, and let's hope for the best and prepare for the worst. But luckily it has started, guys, and you see the console is fine. Under JUnit also it is showing me 2 out of 2 run, and here we are getting the success. So this is how things are going to work here, guys. Yeah. Now one more small thing left is how to verify that whatever we have written the test cases here for the repository, it is testing my complete class. For this we can take help of the code coverage. So basically in your Eclipse IDE or STS IDE, this code coverage is not available by default. So what you can do is you can go to this help and Eclipse marketplace, and there you can just search for code coverage or Jakuko. Then you can install it from there. Once you have installed, then I will just directly show you here. It will appear like this. So beside your run as, there is something like coverage as. So under coverage as, you can again choose as JUnit test. So you can just simply say coverage as JUnit test, and now what it will do is, this time here in the console it will show same, in JUnit it will show same. You will say this was happening earlier also, but this is the output of your result. There is one tab of this coverage also. Let me bring it here. So initially your JUnit tab was here, coverage was here, so you can drag them here. So now it is showing that your whole this particular project demo 15, it is covering 48.9% lines. Yes, ideally it should be 80% test case coverage, then only it is considered as a good application. If it is something between 70 to 80%. Yeah. Now, out of this, SRC test Java is 84.84%. But do we need to consider this test? The answer is no. There we are just writing the test cases, so we should not consider that particular one. Now, under SRC main Java, what all should we consider? Currently, it says that this particular demo class is 0% coverage, and I don't care for that particular one, okay, because I don't want to test that particular one. Currently, my goal is to check for this repository IMPL. So repository IMPL, you see, it is 100% covered. So now if you go to this particular repository also, it will show you some interesting colors. So let me take you here. So it is showing you green color, which means that all these lines have been covered by your test case. Now you will say, Abhishek, what is the proof? Proof is that under repository says 100% have been covered. There were 35 lines and you have covered all. Now let's check about this particular service. So for service, you see it is currently showing red color, which means that under your service class, you have not tested anything. Here, nothing has been tested, guys. That's why it is showing you this particular red color. So now that means that now we should be coming on towards the service class, and let's start writing the test cases for the service also. For this, what I will do here is I will just copy this particular name first of all. So let me copy, or believe me, that name, let me just copy this particular name itself. So refactor, rename, let me copy this, finish, and here let me go to this particular one, src test java, and I'm going here. Let me create another class for this. So this is how it is going to look like. And under this, so this time I'll just rename the package to as service. So this way, let me just simply say finish. And here let me remove this public as always. So let me just save this particular part again. This coverage we will see later on. As of now, you see it is 0%. Yeah. Now, after this, once this is done, now again the main rules, that how first of all we should be writing the methods. So now instead of spending time on writing each and every line of the method, what I'll just quickly do is I'll copy paste from my existing part where I was already having the test case written, so that I can just simply explain you. Because as I mentioned, our goal is not to explain about JUnit and everything. The goal is how to do testing in the Spring Boot. So now my service class is ready, guys. And as you can see, first of all on the top, I have added the test property source. Because here also, I need to read the owner ID from the properties file. That's the only purpose of adding it here. Then the next thing is that here again, I have this annotation Spring Boot test. And this time I'm saying owner service IMPL. Otherwise, it will load all the classes. Then since I need to test the owner service IMPL, so I'm just auto wiring that particular one so that I don't need to create an object for this particular class. Now here I'm having 3 test methods, 2 for the find owner and 1 for the owner ID. Now the next thing is that here for this owner service IMPL, you see I'm saying here find owner, that's good. And obviously it will return me some message. So let me just save it in the actual message part. So again, this part is also good. Now after this, the next thing here you can see is that whenever I will invoke this find owner, what it is going to do basically, it will invoke your repository layer. But the point is currently my goal is to test the service class only. I don't want to test the repository. Maybe the repository is not yet ready as of now, because just imagine you are working in a very big project and you have been assigned to create the service class. Now after creating service class, you are assigned to test your service class, your service method only. Repository is being made by someone else. So currently, since that particular thing is not ready, how can you test it? How can you invoke the actual thing? So here, instead of calling the actual repository, what we will do is we will mock the repository one here. So how to mock? For this particular one, what I'll do here is I'll just copy this particular one from here and I will say private, or let me just add below this. So here I will say private. So this particular one, then I will say this owner repository. Let me make this O capital, and here I will be writing it like this, owner repository. Let me say Control Shift O. Now you see that I have added the owner repository. Now which annotation should I use on this particular one? if you go as per the class, so in the class, we need a bean of the owner repository. That's why we are using @autowired. But the thing is, if I will auto-wire the owner repository, then it will use the actual class. But I don't want to use it. I just want to test my service IMPL, not the repository. And as of now, I can assume that even the repository is not yet ready. Yeah. So since repository is not yet ready, so I will take help of Mockito. Now you remember that Spring Test is automatically providing you Mockito also along with JUnit. So what I'll do is, instead of getting the actual bean, I will get its mock bean. So I will say it like this: mock bean, Control Shift O. Those of you who have already learnt about this @mock or Mockito, they know that just by saying @mock, you can mock any particular class. And then by saying inject mocks, you can inject those mock classes. Here, you just need to make usage of mock bean, and within this your main class, that particular mock bean will be automatically injected or auto-wired. So this is how the things are going to look like. Now let's again check it. So here, what we will do is, with the help of Mockito, we will say that whenever owner repository find owner method will be invoked with number as 100, then the return message is going to be something like this. So here I'm telling you the expected message, that I'm expecting this kind of message from there. Yeah. And on the top here, I'm saying this modify owner ID. This reason I'll tell you in some time why I have to write it like this. Okay, you will say that okay, it should be getting from the properties file. Why you are writing like this? I'll tell you in some time. Yeah. Now, also with the help of Mockito, you can verify whether it is calling the actual find owner method or not. So that also you can check with the help of these times. And why this assert equals is throwing the error. So I guess it is not as of now taking the import. So let me just simply add it in this particular one from the JUnit Jupyter. And what I will do here, guys, is that I'll go on the top, and here I will just say star, so that whatever anything else is required, so that will be imported automatically here, guys. Yeah. So I'll just do it like this, and now I will remove this particular one import. So Control Shift O, Control Shift F. So this is how it is going to look like. So assert equals. So this is being done. This verify is again from the Mockito to verify that internally find owner method will be called. It may happen that you have just hard coded. Yeah. So that should not happen, that you are actually hard coding there. Now similarly for the test find owner when owner not found. So that is also going to look something like same, only the same way which we did there. And this modify owner ID. So this one. But in modify owner ID, you see how will you verify whether the things are done or not. So what we will do is we will simply invoke the method modify owner ID. Then we will take help of the reflection test utils. Yeah. So we will take help of this, and again it is coming from the Spring framework. With the help of this, you can check whether a particular field is being set or not. So within using this, what we are doing is we are checking that this field owner ID. So here you need to write it as a string only, and this name needs to be same as your this actual variable name. Okay. So that you are checking. So we are getting its actual value, and then we are comparing the two values, whether they are same or not. Yeah. So this way we are doing this particular one. Now let me just simply test this also and saying JUnit test here. So let's check it out. And this time you see, since I have ran it only for the service, so only the service IMPL bean is created, and all my test cases are again passing here, guys. I'm getting 3 out of 3 score. Yeah. So this is how we have tested. And again, the important part. So currently, believe me, anything in this highlighted part is not important. Or basically, I mean, even this particular part is not important, because I'm assuming you know JUnit and Mockito. The important part is this particular one. First of all, you need to use this annotation. Within this, you need to mention the class which you want to test. Otherwise, it will load all the classes. Next, whatever the class you want to test, auto-wire that particular one. In case there is some dependency on any other class, so just make a mock bean of it. So this way you can mock that particular class. In case you need to read anything from the properties file, then you say @test properties source. And this way it is going to read from there. For this, obviously you need to create src test resources. Now what we will do is we will again go on the top and let's check the coverage. So here we will say JUnit test, and now let's see what is the overall coverage after adding both the classes. So now you see for the service IMPL it is 100%, and for the repository IMPL also it is 100%. For both of them it is showing me 100% now, and overall also you see it has been increased to 75.4%, and hence that is fine for me. Okay, for this particular class, demo class, it is showing 0, and I'm happy with that because I know I'm not having any big logic there and I don't want to test. So this is how the things are going to work fine. Now I hope that you are clear with this particular concept of testing also, and let's meet in the next video and do something more interesting in the next video. Till then, like the video, share it with your friends, and do comment something so that I can get some motivation also. Thanks everyone.